Maori journalism based on a lot of the interviews that I conducted with Maori journalists. One of the things that Maori journalism has been really important is it's continued to operate with a strong foundation in Maori culture, adapting the processes that began with the introduction of newspapers more than 150 years ago. Maori programs are still using iwi affiliations in their reporting, something which mainstream media don't do because it's not important to them, but for Maori it's something very, very important. Which tribe you belong to says a lot about your identity. There are more in-depth interviews, longer sound bites. They do traditional greetings before television shows, use proverbs, all sorts of different aspects in their reporting. Really important cultural concepts that a lot of these journalists think is important to adhere to because they see their role as someone who holds up the value of culture, and that's something that's very, very important. They do see themselves primarily as providing a counter-narrative. A lot of them have been inspired by wanting to right the wrongs of the mainstream media, to improve the image of Indigenous peoples. And that's also then leading to a sense of empowerment, as Michael was talking about, and the maintenance of identity. They believe in providing a Maori perspective of the news, which also includes journalistic practices that follow cultural values and customs. Many see themselves as advocates, but they're also adamant that they have a crucial watchdog role to play for the benefit of Maori society. In that regards, it's extremely important to hold Maori politicians and other leaders to account, and Maori journalists recognise this responsibility. Only a few weeks ago, Maori TV's Native Affairs was instrumental in uncovering financial management problems at a national trust here, Koanga, which is sort of language schools, language immersion programs. The program was criticised severely by senior Maori leaders for engaging in conduct that they deemed damaging to Maori. Native Affairs very strongly defended its role in keeping those in power accountable, and you could really see a very strong tension still between criticising those in power and then those in power saying, oh, you're beating up on your own people kind of thing, you should not do that. Maori media should always be positive, they should not be a watchdog sort of thing. So, and then some actually called Native Affairs an example of the Pākehāification of Maori media, which was very offensive to some people in Native Affairs. And the other aspect is the revitalisation of language. A lot of journalists have become journalists because they wanted to contribute to language revitalisation. They did not actually have a journalistic motivation. They wanted to help the language grow. And I think we can see some of these examples in other contexts as well. Sari Petikainen has written about it in particular in terms of the Sami. So just to sum up, and I know I'm out of time, so I'll be very quick with this, just to reiterate a couple of points, I guess. I think journalism presents a really, really crucial resource for Indigenous peoples to talk back on their own terms, to provide those counter-narratives, help their own communities in achieving a sense of empowerment. We can see this long struggle, even in Maori media, and arguably they have it a little better than in other communities or societies around the world, but it's been a very, very long struggle to achieve control over their own media. And as I've mentioned, those five dimensions, I guess, of providing a counter-narrative, empowerment, a language revitalisation, cultural maintenance and revitalisation, is very, very important to be. They say if we don't uphold culture, then who will? So we're really, really important. We play a really important role, even in the journalism. And but still also trying and achieving that goal of wanting to be a watchdog. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Hanish. Well, 我想这个演讲里面，我想有2个重点哈，很清楚。其实从他结论里面就可以看得出。那第一点呢，就是说为我们回顾了整个毛利的这个原住民媒体的发展哈。那当然很重要的，其实它就是一个这个毛利族人他们不断的去抗争，去跟他们的政府抗争这样的一个历史。我想在台湾也是，而且我想这样的 struggle 其实是还一直在持续当中哈。那第2个是说，他其实也为我们分析他认为说这个毛利的这样的新闻学，它有几个很重要的面向那一个是提供一个反论述，那第2个呢，其实就是一种培力empowerment。那第3个呢，它很重要的功能就是语言的振兴。那第4个就是说这样的一个族群的媒体，它基本上是奠基在这个族群的文化基础之上的。那最后一点呢，也很重要的是，他认为说，毛利的这些媒体，他们所扮演的呢，就是要监督政府、监督权势者这样的一个功能那我想他所提供出来这5个面向，也很有助于我们来检视当前我们的原住民媒体的表现。那我想这是我从这个演讲里面我想是很清楚的2个重点。那接下来我们就把时间开放给我们现场那因为我想我们接下来可能因为大家可能也肚子饿了，需要一个 break。那我们就是看看现场我们有几个问题。好的，我们有。好，我现在看到3位，那我们就是这3个问题，好不好？我们就是只 take 3个问题。好，谢谢。那我们刚刚后面有位女士，阿高吗？好，这位我们从挪威远道回台湾的阿高。
Hi everyone, good morning, kia ora. My name is Padega Darimala. I work for the World Indigenous Television Broadcasters Network. So just one comment on this is interesting that this is the very first time I sit down as an audience and watching someone else introducing our network, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Just a few comments on that one, since you are including our network in your presentation, so maybe you can help promote it in your next seminar. The network of indigenous journalism, which TITV is also a member. I used to work as a journalist and producer at TITV as well. The aim of the network is to promote and to revitalize the language and culture of the indigenous people worldwide. But it's not just media service and program and news sharing they're working on. One of our main goals is also to help nurture and develop the indigenous media in other countries that do not have the support from the government or do not have the fortune like TITV or Inakosami or Maori TV. They have the support in policy, government policy or financially. And we also established the first Indigenous Journalism Award since last year, and we will have the second one in 2014, which is to encourage the perspective of the indigenous journalism. Which would come to my next question, since you mentioned about the controversy of the Kotanga Reo mismanagement. It's just interesting and out of curiosity, as a professor, how do you think about this journalism pieces in terms of the cultural controversy and also the journalism ethic? After this, just I want to mention that in indigenous media, among our colleagues around the world, we always like to say, indigenous media is mainstream. It's just that the general public haven't realized that. Thank you.
I think, yeah, it's a good question, and it's a difficult question about journalistic ethics, about the Kotanga story in particular. My feeling was that, especially because I had spoken to a lot of these journalists from Native Affairs and about their sort of motivations and ideals and about this issue of, well, how do you actually deal with the ethics of being a member of your own community and then questioning those in power, particularly with a lot of cultural issues in play, often elders and the relationship between elders and those questioned and all those kinds of things. To me, that story was a very brave story in a lot of ways, because a lot of those people who were being accused, and there's a follow-up story since as well with two radio announcers who got in trouble, John Tamahera and Willie Jackson, who sort of got in trouble about sexist comments essentially. And they are, you know, Willie Jackson is very much involved in the board that runs Māori television. And so how do you criticise those people that are, you know, just above you, that are powerful in you? And I think that is perhaps a sign of Māori journalists seeing the need, and I think there is a need to hold those within your own group accountable without necessarily destroying all those achievements that other people have done for a more positive representation. I think a lot of the people I spoke to said, well, you know, of course we need to tell the good stories, the achievement stories, you know, the hero stories, because Pākehā media do that as well. It's just, we just take it from a different perspective. They do it about their own people, you know, we do it about Māori, and there's a need for that. But that doesn't mean that you can't be a watchdog. But yeah, it's a very difficult line to draw every time you deal with it. I don't have a perfect answer for it, I guess, but I think there should be a need to try to hold those, because often the watchdog role is not necessarily against those in power, it's for those being on the ground. And that was, I think, a strong motivation in the Komareo story, which was about, you know, these people are sending their kids to these schools, and they have a right to know whether, you know, if there are things that are going wrong. I don't know if that answers your question. We can talk later.
The second question from the other side of the audience. 刚刚好像这边有人举手，对不对？好，抱歉，因为有点远哈。那请。
Can I ask you, when the Lord of the Rings that was successfully shot in your country, did that arise a kind of a recovery of country land in Maoris, at least virtually? I mean, please standing on the point of a journalist. The second thing is the Maoris and the major members, they won the rugby, the World Cup, the championship. Did anyone smell beforehand that, I mean, they will win the championship? And after the event took place, any influence afterwards? That will be the two questions. Thank you.
So I'm not too sure about, and not being a New Zealander myself, and not being Māori, it's a bit hard to comment sometimes there. But I think in terms of, you mean in terms of the World Cup and whether it's, for example, changed perceptions of Māori, because there are a lot of Māori in the All Blacks, and those kinds of achievements, I guess. You know, those sort of achievement stories can be very positive, but a lot of people would say then also if these people get in trouble, then immediately they're being sort of branded in the mainstream media again. So I think for Māori it can certainly help, you know, with a sense of empowerment, and journalists try, you know, I mean, it was an interesting event too, because the World Cup was held in Aotearoa, and Māori television actually fought for the rights to broadcast the event, and actually bid more money than any of the mainstream media. And there was a big sort of issue about it, and a big scandal, because then the government said, no, we can't just have it screened on Māori television, we have to have it also on the other programs. And it's sort of almost taken away from Māori then. But they still screen every match, and every match in Māori, and you know, I think that's certainly helped a lot of the promotion of the station. Whether it necessarily helps with the mainstream population is often a difficult question. The major viewing segment of a program like Native Affairs, the Current Affairs program, their main viewers are actually Pākehā, 50 years plus. It's not Māori. So they have a really big difficulty of finding the young Indigenous people to actually watch these programs and to draw them in, because often they lack the language skills, which isn't so much a problem in Native Affairs because it's mostly in English, but still it seems to be already almost the converted who watch it. and it's still very difficult, I think, to change perception.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the last question. 来，请。
I say, I want to compare your TV station with Taiwan, indigenous, TV station because I myself watch, in Taiwan, on indigenous, TV station, because officially there are 14 different tribes of indigenous people in Taiwan, and each tribe uses different language, almost that different. Each tribe can understand each other, on a tribal language. So when it comes to broadcast news, they must use, Chinese Mandarin to broadcast news. So I myself, watch, their broadcast news, in Chinese Mandarin, And so I don't know, you say in your country, you say you established our first indigenous TV station in 2004, and then going to 100%, 24 hours all day, all time, indigenous language, but in Taiwan this cannot be done.